so, because it is a giant question, to lay the groundwork for my next question, which is about mycoremediation. So you wrote the book on this, literally, or a book. I'm not sure how many there are. So why don't you give us a sense of, held in the context of what people have heard you speak to so far, what is mycoremediation and what does it look like and what are its potentials?
Definitely. So imagining all, this organic matter building up, and they have to develop the mechanisms to break it down. Those mechanisms are so general that they can use the same mechanisms to break down a piece of wood, then that they can use the same mechanisms to break down petroleum hydrocarbons or an oil spill, right? Which makes them a great ally in helping clean up some of our Superfund sites or brownfield sites and things like that. They also create this spider web filamentous root structure in our soil with almost microscopic tons, millions of these threads of mycelium or the roots of mushrooms, which can make a good filter, right, for water. If we're talking about contaminated waterways, they can also have the ability, same with that filter, to stop heavy metals right in their tracks, or hyperaccumulate heavy metals to take them out of the soil so they're not getting into things that we eat or drink. And so they're really incredible, and really industrially they're more used for wastewater treatment plants. And so you can see it a lot on an industrial scale. There is a big movement for grassroots mycoremediation. So citizen scientists kind of taking these tools and information from, their bootstraps and trying to implement these tools. I haven't really seen it work that much, unfortunately. It's something that really needs to be, this level of pollution is done on an industrial scale. So I think it needs to take industrial scale solutions to tackle that industrial scale problem. Although I think grassroots, scale is nice to get people inspired and to create more people studying this in school, and to, we need passion, we need inspiration. It is really something that needs to be done on an industrial scale to help address these problems, because they are massive. And it really goes to the point of what I was talking to you about before, of it's great to clean up toxic waste like styrofoam and plastic and oil, but let's create other solutions to help prevent that in the first place, right? Because it's almost like an incentive for these big companies. Oh, there's this eco-friendly way to clean up this toxic waste. We're going to double down and create twice as much, right? Where we need to stop that from the get-go and pull out the root. And the root is, okay, instead of, clothing is one of the most environmentally destructive industries, and same with dyes. And a lot of the dyes are for clothing and some of it for food. Those two industries right there, we can replace a lot with fungal materials. And a lot of other industries as well, like packaging. Instead of styrofoam, instead of plastic, we can make alternatives made from fungi that are eco-friendly and fully biodegradable. And so I think they have to go in tandem, right? Like we have to have people doing industrial scale mycoremediation, but at the same time, let's fix the root of the problem, which is producing it in the first place. And let's make these different solutions. And it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's something that I think we can strive for. And fungi don't have all the answers, but they have quite a bit of them. So I think partnering with them is only going to solve more problems than it is to create.
Yes. When you started talking about fungal packaging and stuff like that, it sort of shifted my mindset of thinking about like mycoremediation as something that happens on the end stage of a problem, where
Right.
really actually it sounds like mycoremediation, the remediation is happening in the very foundations of the infrastructure of the industry, rather than the consequences of the industry on the environment on the outside. So when I was thinking mycoremediation, so water filtration, being able to break down oil spills, plastics, and then you had even commented about radiohydrocarbons. So I understand that there's even mushrooms that have developed the capacity to eat some of the radioactivity that's in and around Chernobyl, and
Yeah.
the possibility of using those types of things to clean up what I assume will be increased nuclear issues, as we likely, as a society, as a civilization, move towards increased nuclear power, away from fossil fuels, which may or may not be a good idea. I will see. Maybe I don't have a strong opinion about it.
Yeah, we've only
But
put band-aids on Fukushima and Chernobyl, right? Like that will be an issue forever, for many hundreds of millions of years, and it's bound to happen again. It's going to happen in our lifetime, another Fukushima or Chernobyl. So we have to be prepared, because that was massive.
sure,
That was
especially.
unbelievable.
I mean, I think Chernobyl, from what I understand, was mostly just like ignorance, as in like new technology. I don't know that much about Chernobyl, but from what I understand about Fukushima, a huge part of that being such a crisis was because the industry leaders and the people running the companies cut corners, didn't follow through on safety precautions, on reports that said you need to fix these things. And I mean, if we pay attention to history, which ends up repeating itself if we don't,
Yep.
generally companies will cut whatever corners they can, in order to, limit their operating costs, so that they can maintain a profit while attempting to not have their prices be so high that they're unapproachable. The consequence being, of course, in industries like nuclear power, stuff like Fukushima. Now, I don't know if that's the argument, or that was the argument behind the people not doing the thing. Maybe they were just generally incompetent. But at that scale, I often sort of assume that those people aren't incompetent. They're likely mischievous, which is a very sort of like, we'll say, lighthearted word to use in that context. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard because nuclear power powers so much of our society. I mean, the benefits are huge, so it's hard to be 100% hard on them, and there is not too many great alternatives at this point. And I think it won't be overnight, but we have to start thinking of these alternatives. I'm not in the energy sector, so that's as pretty much as far as I can go with that conversation. It's not where my day-to-day mind goes. But
sure, I'm like a YouTube scholar when it comes to that kind of stuff too, so I don't know how much I actually know.
I'm going to pull myself back before I make comments that are very untrue. But going back to what you were saying before, of mycoremediation is way beyond just the chemicals, the heavy metals, and cleaning dirty water, right? It's replacing alternatives, but it's also, I mean, working with psilocybe mushrooms are mycoremediation, right? You are using fungi to degrade toxic things in your body, right? Your psyche, your soul, you're healing trauma in yourself. And like, who is throwing a bottle out of their car, right? Who is creating toxic waste in the world? Humans. And it all, I believe, stems from trauma that is undealt with, right? It's like, if we think we're so separate from the earth that we're able to create toxic waste on the earth and not think that that is us, or to be able to even just directly put toxic waste in our own bodies and not have any conscious of that. I mean, I feel like it all stems from unresolved trauma. And I feel like psilocybe has a huge impact on healing people's traumas and addictions and getting them out of these loops, and to help them connect to the world around them, to other people, to be more empathetic and connected to the world, right? Nature, and to say, hey, we have to stop these polluting industries and create these solutions, right? And so I think that is another form of mycoremediation, is using psilocybe or functional mushrooms, right? Of if you are healthier, if you feel better, you will make better decisions, you will treat people better, and you will treat the earth better, right? If you're inflamed, if you're tired, if you're stressed out, if you're, you feel like shit, we've all had our bad days, and how do we treat everyone and everything around us? Like, we just spew out that negativity around us. So it comes full circle, and I always tell people as well, like, even just going out in the woods and looking for mushrooms, that is a form of mycoremediation, because, you're forest bathing, right? You're connecting to nature, and that's one step in the right direction. So it can come in all forms depending on how philosophical you are, but, just connecting with fungi, I think, is for the better.